So, the Wardens have been out for over a year now, so you'd think we know every little thing about them. But today, I'll be dropping some facts that I can for sure bet you don't know about. So, let's jump right into it. So we're just going to skip phase 1 as there isn't really much to cover there that people don't already know. So how does damage work on P2 Warden? Well, if your magic accuracy roll is too low, you can splash with magic, but assuming high magic levels and decent gear, you'll find that you have 100% accuracy when maging or ranging the Warden. But you can only roll between 60% and 40% of your true max hit. Now, both the max and min hit can lower if your accuracy is too low, with accuracy mattering more and more as the raid level goes up. We sadly don't have a formula figured out, but this does mean some weapons perform better on the Warden than other weapons. Here's my findings at around 375 raid level after looking at the max and min hits I saw, but note these were done before the new rings came out. As you can see, the Twisted Bow is the king, and the Zarite Crossbow with Dragon Bolts is the worst out of the 4 weapons here. And then for magic, the Tumikin Shadow is the best mage weapon, who would have figured, and the Trident of the Swamp is worse. Now let's talk about the Red Cuirass. Even though it does put you on the attack cooldown of a successful spec, it does not increase everyone's damage on the Warden itself in P2, which is a shame. However, Red Cuirass does work on the Obelisk, P2 Core, and P3 to P4 Warden. Now, most people prefer to spawn a Elidnus Warden instead of Tumikins due to the Phantoms in P3 and a few notable differences. Elidnus is stationary, only walking toward you if you run too far, and Tumikin on the other hand will chase you down until the ends of the earth. But Elidnus attacks faster with an attack speed of 7 ticks and has a max of 50 on its attacks. Tumikin on the other hand attacks every 8 ticks and has a max of 55 on its attacks. However, both of them have the same max on their prayer special, hitting up to 60 damage if you fail to protect against it. Now, the acceleration invocation states it increases the Warden attack speeds alongside speeding up the Obelisk specials. The invocation actually speeds up the attacks of both Wardens by 1 tick, meaning Elidnus attacks at 6 ticks and Tumikin attacks every 7 ticks. The Entomb special also travels a tick faster with acceleration on, meaning you have less time to dodge it. Now let's briefly talk about the core. After the HP of the Warden charges to full from enough damage, the Warden will blue screen and launch its core out. But how do you actually know the amount of hits you can do on it? It's based on the starting HP the core has when it's sent out. So at above 80% HP, you can do 6 4-tick hits. If the core pops out with less than 80% but more than 60% HP, you can do 8 4-tick hits, but if it's below 60%, you can do 10 4-tick hits. Another signifier to know the next time the core comes out, you can do the maximum hits, is if it no longer is using its prayer special attack and instead is using its Entomb special, since once the core health returns with less than 60% HP, the prayer special is completely replaced with the Entomb special. Speaking of Warden specials, the Warden will do between 3 to 7 normal attacks before sending a prayer orb special, and this number will be stored when it sends out its core, meaning there is an off chance it'll instantly special you when the core returns. However, for the Entomb, once it finally sends out its first Entomb ball, it'll do 3 attacks, then on the 4th, do Entomb and repeat, meaning it's fully predictable. Now, how do you know what special is coming up from the Obelisk? The first one is random, but you can see the color of the lightning to know what's coming. Red is Converging Beams, orange is the Windmill, and yellow is the Lightning Bombs. As for the order, assuming Converging Beams happened first, it goes Converging Beams, then Windmill, then Lightning Bombs, then it repeats. Lastly, let's go over the damage of each special from the Obelisk. We all know the Lightning Skulls are the scariest special to handle, but they aren't the deadliest in terms of damage with a max of 37. The Windmill hits 35 damage, but lastly, the Converging Beams, being the easiest to dodge, hits the hardest with a max of 50. Now, we all know the spots to stand for the Lightning Bombs, but if you didn't know, it strikes one area on the first tick, then it hits a second area in the following tick. This means you can run through the Lightning Bomb if you time it correctly. You may see people hugging the Warden in solos, but why do that when it can now melee you? Well, assuming Quiet Prayers are off, Range and Mage Prayers protect against 80% of the damage it deals, while melee prey protects against 90% of the damage, and the melee only hits players next to it, so you take much less damage from melee attacks than range and mage. The Warden which fell in P2 comes back to life, with revenge for their fallen comrade. Let's first analyze his Tile Slam attack. It has a max hit of 50 damage, but the max hit scales down with how much health it's lost, where its max is reduced by 20% of its original value. However, the cutoff seems to be at 40% health. Any lower than that seems to not change its max hit anymore. The invocation Insanity will increase the max hit, however, by 20%, meaning at full HP, the Warden can max 60. However, it can lose up to 33% of its max hit based on health, with the cutoff still being at 40% of its current health. What about the attack speed? No invocation, it attacks every 7 ticks, but it becomes 6 ticks once its health drops below 50%. Overclock sets the attack speed to 5 ticks, Overclock 2 sets the attack speed to 4 ticks, and, well, we all know Insanity sets it to 3 ticks. Now let's give the Phantoms some spotlight. The damage they seem to do with their attacks seem to be based around their damage at path level 0, so the rune path level doesn't seem to increase the damage of the Phantoms, and they don't increase the attack speeds of the Phantoms either. However, Zebek path level 4 will increase the projectile speed, meaning you have much less time to pray against the attacks. The drop speed of Kefri's attack is also based on the rune path level, with 0 to 1 being the slowest and 4 and above being the fastest. Insanity does a few things to augment the Phantoms though. The attack speed of all Phantoms increases as such. All Phantoms no Insanity will attack at 8 ticks, meanwhile in Enrage they will all attack at a speed of 5 ticks. Insanity Kefri, Zebek, and Akka will attack every 7 ticks, but Insanity Baba will attack every 6 ticks. Now, in the Enrage phase, Kefri, Zebek, and Akka with Insanity on will attack every 4 ticks, while Baba will be dropping boulders every 3 ticks. Also, people assume that Baba's boulder drop speed correlates to its path level. Well, no, it's based on Insanity, so with Insanity off, the boulders will be slow, but if Insanity is on, it'll drop at its fastest speed. Now, one more thing to mention is the speed that tiles get sucked in during P4 is also dependent on Insanity. So without Insanity, it sucks up tiles every 18 ticks, whereas with Insanity, it sucks up tiles every 12 ticks. Now this one is more of a plugin tip. For any Annoyance Mute users, I've accumulated a list of IDs you can use to play with area sounds and not have your ears blown out during P3 and P4, since as you can see here, yeah, it's a lot of sounds. The final thing I want to discuss, I don't really know the practicality of this, but here's something really cool. You can skip some of the skull phases at Warden P3 if you manage to bring the Warden's health down from, let's say, 21% to below 5%. You'll skip the skulls at 20% and jump right into the Enrage phase, which does require lining up attacks, so it'd be difficult to pull off. However, if you try to do it from higher health, let's say from 61% to below 40%, what ends up happening is it plays catch up. It'll do the 60% skulls threshold, then after solving said skulls, it'll instantly do the next set of skulls, aka the 40% ones. So if people figure out a way to bring it from 81% to below 5% health, you could in theory skip all the skull phases and jump right into Enrage. But again, I'm unsure if it's even possible to do that, even with the red Kiras. And that's everything. I hope you learned something new, and maybe some of the information I've shared might come in handy. If you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like, as this video took about a month of research to bring together. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, feel free to drop a subscription.